Hey, this is We Called It. Thanks for listening. We have a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about our reactions to week one, going through our picks for week two, and once again, giving our fantasy flyers for the week. Connor Lucas is unable to make it, but Dr. Kenneth Call is here once again. How are you doing, Ken?
Hey Phil, pretty disappointed in my fantasy teams overall, but looking for the rebound in week two. Can't get much worse for me.
The season is 17 weeks long, not one, right? So you just got to play those waiver wires.
Good team, people. They'll show up. They'll show up. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't want to brag, but Ken's wonderful pick of Cam Akers really showed out this last week. What, 3 carries,
I'm
0
going to
yards?
talk about him. I am not all in on him still. You have to be.
All right.
But
So,
we'll talk about it.
yeah, just going through, recap how our performances from last week. I was 3-2, Connor was 2-2, and Ken was 2-2. So no one really making you lose your skis yet. But yeah. So outside of your bets and where you went right and where you went wrong, what were your takeaways from, I guess, the first week of football?
So, where do I want to begin? Let's start with Cincinnati. I do not want to overreact to a turnover, one pick six game. Now, they gave up 20 points. Seven of those were, that Micah Fitzpatrick pick six. Kind of hard to see, hard to watch for Cincinnati fans. I want to apologize to T. Higgins. I haven't been the nicest to him. I like him, just not as much as everyone else on the show. But I'm going to take the full blame for him getting hurt. With that being said, they still had every single opportunity to win this game several times over. And, a poor week one showing, certainly, you don't want to lose to the interdivision rival. But at the same time, don't freak out. Still got a good team, and certainly talk about them in a bit.
Yeah, so other teams I don't want to overreact to. Denver and the Rams, you still have good rosters. The Rams, they just got destroyed up front. It's a new offensive line. They didn't play together in the preseason, and I know everyone's been talking about it, and it's like, yeah, offensive line play, quarterback play is the worst the first couple weeks, something I kind of forgot when making my picks last week. But it just needs time and cohesion to get through. So I think they're going to bounce back. Matt Stafford, he has those games. He led the league in interceptions last year. He's going to bounce back. He's going to have his good games again where he throws for 4 touchdowns and no picks. So I'm still high on the Rams being, the Super Bowl contender in the NFC. And then Denver, they had 3 chances to score from the 3-yard line or closer, and they scored 6 total points. So I think their coach was over his head. I'm still very excited. I had them to win the Super Bowl. I am not as excited about that because, when you get to those final schematic edges that people can do, in the playoffs, I think he is going to lose those now, and I don't believe in Denver to overcome, his coaching woes. But they're still going to be good enough to be, a borderline playoff team competing for the top in AFC West. So I'm expecting them to bounce back. All right, so those are people not to overreact to, I guess. Is there anyone that stood out that you said, hey, actually, I can see some staying power with this team where they played better than you thought and it looked legit?
One team that I'm definitely interested in still, I'm sure you're going to talk about Minnesota later on, but Baltimore. Now, first off, Lamar Jackson had 6 rushes for 17 yards. That is nothing. Kenyon Drake, 7 rushes for 31 yards. This is a team that really, is run first, likes to really dominate a game like that. They didn't. They didn't have to. They used Devin Duvernay, who should still be on every fantasy team's waiver. He had a great game. Lamar looked good passing, and their defense, yes, they're now once again a little beat up with their slot corner getting hurt, but at the same time, looking now it was the Jets, but they look good, not trying their classic way that they own games. I think that they're certainly a dark horse in the AFC. I actually like them. They're preseason to win the division, but now I'm just a little more confident with that too. So yes, I just talked up 2 AFC North teams despite being a Browns fan. Not fun, but just being really observant.
As a football fan in general, that's nice, right? You get more good games. I'm with you. I like Baltimore. Plus, they still have J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, 2 good running backs coming back. Other teams I am very high on after seeing them play last week was the Chargers and Vikings. The Chargers had Khalil Mack go out and get 3 sacks and completely dominate across from Joey Bosa.
What happens when you have 2 elite defensive ends?
Oh my gosh, it's like if you had 2 elite receivers, they would just both dominate and have big plays in the Super Bowl. But, we'll leave that aside. Anyways, they have J.C. Jackson coming back, and Devontae Adams rocked the Asante Samuel Jr. He's a second-year guy, and Devontae Adams is still maybe the best receiver in the NFL. So, but they played a lot better and shut down Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow much better than I thought a team like the Chargers would do. Their pass rush was fierce, and they're going to throw, and they're going to do it well. I know Keenan Allen's down, but honestly, Justin Herbert, he just constantly makes plays that are insane. So I'm very excited about them. I think they are. I think coming into the year, I had them probably as like the 3 in that division behind Denver and Kansas City. But now I really think it's like 1A and 1A.5 between them and Kansas City. They play Thursday night, and we'll talk about the game a little. I'm not going to pick a side, even though I'm talking up the Chargers right now. But I
got to tell you,
I was going to say
completely agree. I completely agree.
We're doing so bad at this. What's it called? Synergy that we have right now. It's awful. Whoever wins the Chargers Kansas City games is going to win that division. That's all I was going to say and finish with. So now you can go ahead.
Okay. So, once again, first off, Keenan Allen, I know, once again, had him on a fantasy team and looked great for a first half of a quarter, but then obviously went out. But, Mike Williams didn't do anything. They got everybody involved in that offense, and that, honestly, to me, that's just a good sign of a good quarterback, They went up big. They definitely coasted at the end. They can't do that, but I'm just more impressed with that defense. I mean, the new Raiders, that's certainly a good test. Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Devontae Adams, and I mean, they really, what was it? They ended up giving up 19 points. They had a pretty poor 2-point conversion attempt, but I really wasn't, not as much unimpressed with the Raiders as I was impressed with the Chargers defense. There's not really much of a question about their offense going into the season. It's all about this revamped defense, and even without J.C. Jackson, they looked good.
Yep. And then last team I want to talk about was my NFC team to make the Super Bowl, the Minnesota Vikings. They came out and they completely just owned the Packers, both sides of the ball. The defensive front was finally back to what we saw from Minnesota like 2 or 3 years ago, just constantly making problems for Aaron Rodgers. And then their receivers and their offense looked really good. Justin Jefferson is getting the Cooper Kupp treatment from Kevin O'Connell, who saw how Cooper Kupp was used and taken advantage of last year, and said we're going to do the same thing with Justin Jefferson. I think it was Dwayne McFarland put out the tweet where it was, on 60% of his snaps, Justin Jefferson was put in a position against a linebacker or safety, and on those snaps he had 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. So just offensive masterminding, using motion, whatever it takes to create a mismatch, and then Justin Jefferson is too good to leave matched up like that, and he'll just shred whoever is guarding him in those situations. So very excited about Minnesota, both sides of the football. I think the only thing I don't like about them is like their O-line's a little weak, but you can scheme outside of that, and then their DBs are weak, but you have a good pass rush. So I am very, very happy with that end of my Super Bowl pick. Still unfortunate that I have Denver, though. But you can't make changes once the season starts.
Well, the only thing to add to Minnesota is I just don't know what to make of their defense. Because Aaron Rodgers, he starts week 2. We know that from the last few years here. But really, that Green Bay offense is just, it's in disarray. He tried throwing to the rookie a few times, and that walk-in touchdown of Christian
First
Watson
play of the game or so.
Too good to be true. I mean, clearly out of sync. He hasn't found that rhythm. I'm really, really interested to see how they do. I still believe in Aaron Rodgers. I talked him up way too much this offseason to not. But at the same time, that's one team where I'm like, jury's still out on Green Bay for sure. Other one where the jury's still out for me is Arizona. I know that first off, the Chiefs, that their offense is or their defense has always been kind of a question mark. It showed up when it needed to last year, but really disappeared when Pat Mahomes looked good. And I got to tell you, I didn't like much at all from what I saw of the Cardinals offense. I want them to be good. I like Kyler. Of course, when Rondell Moore gets back, for some reason, what's his name? Dortch is all of a sudden their go-to offensive player, let alone receiver. I think that we can see a whole lot more from that. But most importantly, when it comes to bets, I'm not touching Arizona or Green Bay because I think there's just a lot that they just left out on the field, and they certainly can play better than what they showed.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's speaking about Arizona, we'll talk about our fantasy picks last week. I gave AJ Green as half of mine, and I'm very sorry because that was wrong by a mile. And it, like you said, who's the receiver? And it's some random guy comes out of nowhere and does all, gets all the catches for them. But on the other side, we gave 3 other picks. All were good. Julio Jones looked good, and I think he had like 80, 90 yards. So for a flyer,
90 total yards, yeah.
Yeah, for a flyer, it looked good. You had AJ Dillon. That paid off. Looked like he had a touchdown and 14 or 15 standard fantasy points. And lastly, I'd say Connor's pick of DJ Chark. If you played him, you got 11 points or so. He had 50 yards and a touchdown. He did drop one walk-in touchdown, but of course he made up for it later in the game, and it looks like they were happy to still continue feeding him.
Yep, no, with the AJ Dillon thing, that's one thing I liked from that pick is, number one, I have him on a few of my teams, but number two, he had the most carries, and I think he was tied for the most targets as well, maybe most receptions. But long story short, big part of the offense. So we'll just see if they keep to that. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
AJ Dillon, guy we hyped up all offseason, said you should have drafted him, and I still can't believe how late he went in drafts. And I took him in the 4th round in our family draft, but I needed a running back badly. Anyways, let's get to it. Picks of the week. Here we go. We'll start with your, I guess, lock of the week. You have Baltimore -3.5 against Miami.
Yep. And once again, this is a belief in Baltimore, like I just mentioned, but also a disbelief in Miami. I do not believe in Tua. I think that game against New England, there was just not much, fight put up. They had essentially a broken play on, I think it was 4th and 7, where Jalen Waddle caught a 40-yard touchdown, where he essentially walked in for the last 25 yards. I just don't, now, Baltimore, their weak spot is their DBs, and they do have Tyreek Hill, who, honestly, I did not see much out of how they used Tyreek Hill. I know he got a lot of targets. He certainly used much more than Jalen Waddle, but, they couldn't get much going on the ground. I think that when they play a quality team like Baltimore, I don't think it's going to be close. Especially if Baltimore starts using Lamar the way that, they have in the past, if he can pass half as good as he did against the Jets. I know, once again, the Jets. But if they can keep that up and establish the run, I don't think it's a 3-point game.
Yeah, Miami's interesting. It looks like they started they realized their offensive line sucks, and all right, we're just going to throw the ball as quickly as we can and just use, Tyreek Hill 5-yard completions as our running game instead. Anyways, my pick of the week is going to be the Vikings over the Eagles. Right now, it's a 2-point favorite for Minnesota. Minnesota's a 2-point underdog in Philadelphia on Monday Night Football. So the nice thing about this bet is it gives you a reason to watch the standalone game and care about it a lot. But I've talked about it a lot. Minnesota, I like the way they looked. They created a lot of problems up front. I think that they are smart schematically defensively, so they'll know how to handle Jalen Hurts better. And I think their offense is just good enough to even outscore Philadelphia. I mean, the Eagles came out and they had 3 players on offense last week. It was A.J. Brown, who was shredding any DB, but again, they were the Lions DBs. It was kind of a joke. And then Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders on the ground. So the Lions, though, eventually, once they held them, right? It was 38-14, and the Lions came back to score 21 straight unanswered points. If the Lions can score like that, I think Minnesota can. They have way more weapons. And maybe Minnesota sees something in that game tape from that 21-0 run. And it's like, hey, if we can just, sit back, get extra guys on A.J. Brown, and, contain Jalen Hurts instead of letting him bust out 20-yard runs, I think they'll be able to pull it out and get the win.
So. Yeah. The one thing with the Eagles, let's see how they do against a better defense. Honestly, jury's still out on the Minnesota defense. I was really close to picking this game, but opted against it just because still a lot of, question marks. But are you going to get this Philadelphia offense that, where Jalen Hurts is just unstoppable, or are they going to force him to pass? And, you're going to have to see what Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown can really do. I don't think the Detroit Lions defense was I think it was a good warm-up game for the Eagles offense, and they certainly came out and showed that they're ready to play the first week here.
All right, let's go on to your second pick. I guess whatever game you're feeling the second best about, you can talk.
Just as soon as I talk bad about the Detroit defense, I'm going to take them over Washington. So, honestly, I think that this Detroit offense is, it can stick with anyone. And first off, Washington tried to give the game to Jacksonville numerous times. And, they just looked a little too young out there at Jacksonville. And then they couldn't maintain a lead in the fourth. And Carson Wentz, once again, tried to throw 2 picks and give it away. Jacksonville didn't want it. I really think that this Detroit offense is just gonna. I don't trust the Washington defense much. I think that the Detroit offense will be able to essentially pass all the way around on them, and I expect it to be a sloppy, high-scoring game in Detroit coming out on top.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought Travis Etienne particularly left a lot on the table. He had
14 points.
What?
He left 14 points on the table.
Yeah, I was going to say, so there was one pass where Trevor Lawrence overthrew him by a mile on a simple, like a wheel route, and then there was one where a ball hit him in the face. And now you swap out Travis Etienne for maybe one of the best catching and playmaking backs in football in DeAndre Swift. I'm very excited about that. Washington's strength defensively is up front. The Lions' strength offensively is up front, so they'll be able to hold their ground a lot better than the Jaguars did. So I'm very high. I'm with you. I actually have Detroit -1.5 here. I don't know if I had them or talked them up in the preseason, but I know I did last week, where they're a good sleeper team.
We talked up Detroit a lot.
Yeah, I like them. They're just sneaky good, and they play with heart. They play with spunk. Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams is the perfect counter to have with DeAndre Swift. The receivers need work, but Jameson Williams will come in the year and fix that. It doesn't help this week, but I don't know. I just like Detroit. They're going to keep being that sneaky team. I think they'll be a team that starts off hot, and then, people just start losing. They just start losing against better teams as the year goes on. But 2-0 start for them. They're going to cover the 1.5 point spread. We'll go on to my second pick, which is going to be the Browns over the Jets. Browns are 5.5 point favorite. And while they're off, the Browns running game is just so impressive that I think it's just going to run right through the Jets. I know the Jets controlled Baltimore, but it was Kenyon Drake was their running back. And now you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt instead. I was nervous about how teams would be overplaying the run with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, and it didn't matter. Nick Chubb still had his way going through Carolina's defense. And I don't think the Jets' defense is any better than Carolina's. And then the defense for the Browns, I thought, looked good. They had a couple of coverage mistakes. That's going to happen in week 1. New people, miscommunications. Was it Robbie Anderson broke free? And then there was another play where Baker missed a touchdown, I think. But I believe in Cleveland to button up, get it together, and then just run right through the Jets. I'm very low on Joe Flacco, and yeah, I just don't think the Jets have much to look forward to unless they put Mike White in. I think there was a chance for that too last game. So let's go Browns. Oh, I got my Cleveland shirt on too. It's perfect.
As much I love the Browns. I definitely like them to win this game, but that's just not a belief in the Jets offense. And the Browns offense defense definitely looked good. Myles Garrett looked good. Jadeveon Clowney, honestly, most underrated defensive player in the league from my super biased opinion. But man, love watching them. Only issue is our passing attack looked miserable. We paid Njoku so much. I think he got one or two targets. Amari Cooper had no separation. Donovan Peoples-Jones didn't have separation, but he certainly caught a lot of contested balls out there. When Amari Cooper was open, Jacoby Brissett missed him. I don't know if it was a line 5.5 or 6. I think that's just going to be a little too much, to ask for this Browns team that can't. I don't trust them to put up enough points.
Yeah, well, when you run the ball for 230 yards or whatever, stupid, you're gonna win. So, and they're gonna win it comfortably. Let's see. What did they?
I hope so.
I was gonna say, what did they run for last week? Yeah, something like 200 yards, a little bit over. So, all right, let's go on to your next pick. We'll go with Cincinnati. So you have Cincinnati minus 7.5 going to Dallas.
So, a lot of, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games with lines 7.5 or higher. I was like, you got to pick one of those, right? No, it's not why I picked them. But really, I don't want to overreact to Cincy. I mean, like I said, should have came out with a win despite 4 turnovers, 1 horrible turnover. But this is number one, a belief that Cincinnati can dominate Dallas. Number 2, Dallas looked horrible against Tampa. Now, yeah, Tampa has a good defense, but I mean, Zeke looked good against him, but he certainly doesn't. He's not gonna blow off any 25, 30 plus yard runs. He's not gonna break one to the house, nothing like that. And I do not. I mean, they look bad with Dak at quarterback. I do not trust them with the backup in. I think Cincy has a little. This is a something to prove game that week 1 was a fluke, and I think Dallas is going to do its best to tread water until Dak gets back. Definitely a pipe dream for him to come back before 4 weeks, and after this week, I think you're going to be hearing a lot of Jimmy G from Dallas because they. I mean. But as bad as it looked with Dak, you can't imagine them winning too many games without him.
Honestly, they might be chanting Trey Lance at that point because Jimmy G might take over in San Fran after how bad that offense looked.
Now, that was a monsoon. Did you see the Justin Fields sliding, 20 feet in just that soaked Soldier Field? I mean, that was a crapshoot. I'm hoping for a San Fran bounce back.
All right. Let's go on to then a game. The only pick that we have, or another pick we have in common, Atlanta versus the Rams. We are both taking the under at 47.5. So my thoughts here, it's going to be real simple. The Rams are going to bounce back. They're going to beat the crap out of Atlanta, who, was nice and fun for a minute, but they got completely shut down in the second half. And now they go against Aaron Donald up front, and their offensive line is a joke. Jalen Ramsey, yes, he was probably one of the worst cornerbacks in the league last week, where Stephon Diggs had his way with him. But what is it? It's Drake London in Atlanta. He's not going to do that. Or Kyle Pitts isn't going to do that to Jalen Ramsey. So I think they bounce back. I think Jalen Ramsey erases the top target. I think Aaron Donald smothers them. And then Matt Stafford rebounds and has a good game after his terrible game, because it's just what he does. He's Matt Stafford. All right, even if he does have a good game, it will still be like 30-0, and that's the game.
Yes, this is a welcome to the NFL game for Drake London. Jalen Ramsey, he's going to come in mad, and he hasn't faced anyone like Jalen Ramsey in his very short career, college or NFL. But with that being said, I think that this is a game where the Rams they want to dominate, and Sean McVay when he gets a lead, he likes to slow things down and kick field goals at the end. Now it'll be interesting because I don't, I just gotta say, Sean McVay. I don't blame you for playing Darrell Henderson, but he's not as good as Cam Akers. If you want him to play over Cam Akers, you're accepting a mediocre running back, or Cam Akers is just done after the Achilles. Now, that's not typically how Achilles injuries heal up, especially with his time frame with being able back at full speed last year. I think this is more Cam Akers in the doghouse than anything, but I don't know how flat your offense can look without you starting to use your playmakers more. So that offense definitely needs a reboot. We'll see how Sean McVay responds, but he's a good coach. He will bounce back.
Another guy not to overreact to, Allen Robinson. I think he comes back, and he had one real target last week. The other one was the end of the game, like end zone toss. So I think he comes back, and this is a game where he could, show out. Or whenever Van Jefferson gets healthy and they have a deep threat, so he gets less safety attention. Good time to buy him in fantasy football. And then, so that covers all your games. We'll go to my last one, New England versus Pittsburgh. Not gonna lie, I'm picking this game because I was assigned it as my article this week. I wouldn't pick it otherwise. But, I'm not going to wuss out and not make a pick. So give me the Patriots -2.5. I was heavily leaning towards Pittsburgh, and then TJ Watt is not going to play. So when you lose your best player, who was a complete menace for Cincinnati, I think it caused a lot of problems. I think Mac Jones is still going to be okay. They said he had back spasms, and he should be fine. Even if he isn't, though, I'm not picking New England because of how good their passing game is. You're picking New England because I think they're going to just run the clock, and Mitch Trubisky is the quarterback for Pittsburgh. And I know I've made fun of New England's offense for weeks on end now, and I still believe it. They might only score 7 or 8 points in this game. However, Bill Belichick still knows how to torture a young, untalented quarterback, and Mitch Trubisky couldn't do anything despite having a huge receiver advantage last week. I expect to see something similar where New England just comes out, makes life difficult for Mitch Trubisky, and then runs the ball effectively right through Pittsburgh without TJ Watt. So New England -2.5. I'm not happy about the pick still, but I had to choose one.
So, just going off of what you said, just to segue into our fantasy players, and I just picked it just now as you're talking, and it is Rhamondre Stevenson. Now, Ty Montgomery, he's on the IR. He was their receiving back. He did catch a receiving touchdown. There are always talks about Rhamondre catching more passes this offseason. Bill Belichick said it, so you can't really believe it. But no, I think this is going to be more of a New England does what they want this game, and that's they're going to run heavy. I think Rhamondre gets some receiving back tosses as well, and I think that he shows up with a big game.
All right, I'm going to drop a couple. Number one, in the Chargers game, Josh Palmer. He's the replacement for Keenan Allen. I know we don't do waiver wire show and all that details here. If you need a wide receiver, Josh Palmer is going to be the replacement. I think he'll be good. But my fantasy pick of the week is I'm going to go with Evan Engram for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a little out there, but O.J. Howard just carved him up. Evan Engram is a good tight end, and I think Jacksonville will use its personnel to cause mismatches. And clearly throwing to Travis Etienne in the red zone is not effective. So someone else needs to do it. Like I said, O.J. Howard had 2 touchdowns against Indy. I'm not sure if that's like a common theme, but I'm liking Evan Engram as just a sneaky wild card flyer. And then I don't know who for Connor, don't want to speak on his behalf, but DJ Chark had a good week, and we both picked Detroit. He has a good matchup against Washington. So DJ Chark could be another wild card guy. Go if you need a wide receiver, toss him in and just hope he can grab another touchdown. All right. So with that, I think we've covered everything. Man, when Connor's not here, we are highly efficient. All right, Ken, any let's see. So we covered our picks and everything. Is there obviously Kansas City versus the Chiefs game you're interested in? Is there any other games you're interested in? Anything else you're looking for, want to watch for this week?
So a big one, and this is definitely maybe not in the standings, but just see how they do. It's not really a Chicago Green Bay thing. It's a Green Bay thing. Like I said earlier, I want to see how Aaron Rodgers reacts. Allen Lazard will be back. We'll see how he does. He's going to start the game with 3 touchdowns against Chicago, and then we'll see what happens from there. He just always does. Another one, and it's definitely more how the player responds, but that Tampa Bay versus New Orleans, man, since Tom Brady's been down in Tampa, New Orleans has had his number during the regular season. Then, of course, Tampa got the big one to, I can't remember if that was go to the NFC Championship game or go to the Super Bowl, but, Tampa Bay got the one playoff win. But they always seem to come out tough against Tom Brady. No Godwin. I saw Julio's a little banged up, but that's just, Julio is always a little bit banged up. It'll be interesting to see, especially Tampa's going a lot more run heavy. Leonard Fournette looked pretty good last week, but New Orleans has a much better run defense. So I think that's an interesting matchup. Just see what the teams do there.
Much better run defense that just watched Cordero Patterson feast on him for one half, but still.
Well, he's a receiver, so. And then for my sake, my NFC Championship team was the 49ers. And man, I know it was a monsoon. I know I mentioned, but I just want to see Trey Lance start to look like Trey Lance. Because if not, those Jimmy G chants, they can be coming.
Yeah, the line is still -9.5 despite Seattle being 1-0 and San Fran being 0-1. So I guess no one's really overreacting there. I'm curious how San Fran fills in for Eli Mitchell. He was having a great game before he went out. And Jeff Wilson, I don't think is a good filler running back. I don't think he's ever shown anything like when he's been the lead running back. So
he falls in the end zone quite a bit.
For being a guy that's
27.
I would say he's like 190, yet he's a great goal line back. It's amazing.
He's 20 carries, 55 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It's the classic Jeff Wilson.
So I'm really hoping Tyrion Davis-Price, he's on my bench in fantasy. I'm really hoping he gets out of the doghouse. He was inactive last week, 3rd-round pick. I'm hoping he can step in and shine in place of Eli Mitchell. So that's San Fran's one game I'm watching. And then the last one, Arizona versus the Raiders or Las Vegas. Like we said, the Raiders didn't look bad, and I don't think our opinions of them moved much last week. It was that we were impressed by the Chargers. But I'm pretty low on Arizona right now. They were. I know Patrick Mahomes and the new look Chiefs offense is good, but it's like you got feasted on. Patrick Mahomes had one of his best games as a quarterback against you. They lost Chandler Jones. J.J. Watt is still out. They don't have much of a pass rush, and I know the Raiders line is bad, but if there's no one coming to get them, they're gonna feast. So I'm curious what Kyler Murray can make do with what he has. Because like I said, A.J. Green looked like an old corpse. And they don't have, Mark Hollywood Brown was a letdown last week, too. In a shootout, he had 40 yards and a touchdown. So I'm curious how Arizona responds.
It was a one-team shootout. It wasn't much of a shootout.
Yeah. So I want to see them respond to me better. The starting hot is their thing. And clearly did not do it this year, so hopefully they can rebound. But
just one more thing, just don't overreact to your fantasy team. If it didn't do so well, don't worry, it's still good. You got another few weeks before you can panic. And once again, I am sorry, T. Higgins.
If your fantasy team lost and scored, 2nd or 3rd most points, definitely overreact. Be disappointed in yourself because it's just some bull and your season's over. That was me this week, so it is what it is. All right. Thanks for listening. I hope all your bets win. I hope your fantasy teams win. And T. Higgins better get healthy.